judges ready? Pain is a microphone. The more it hurts, the louder you get. Suffering isn't an obstacle to being used by God. It is an opportunity to be used like never before. Pastor Levi Lusko wrote in his book, Through the Eyes of a Lion, "We have all dealt with pain and suffering, whether it be the loss of a loved one or physical pain. No one is exempt from pain in their life. Ever since the first sin in the Garden of Eden, we will all suffer in this life. But the question is, what will you do with your suffering? Will you use your pain as a microphone to the hurting? Ryan Job endured much in his life. He used his pain to shine his faith in God as a light before men. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of a man who has inspired me and touched the hearts of many people. I will begin by speaking about Ryan Job's trial, his recovery, and what we can learn from a life well lived. Born in 1980, Ryan Job's dream was to become a Navy SEAL. The Navy SEAL training program is called Basic Underwater Demolition / SEAL, or BUDS. More candidates make it to the NFL from college football than complete this course. After enduring BUDS in 2002, Ryan was commissioned to SEAL Team 3. On the morning of August 2nd, 2006, during his first tour, Ryan and Chris Kyle were on the rooftop of a 4-story apartment building in Ramadi, Iraq. Their assignment to cover their team members as they cleared the areas of enemy fighters. Unknown to them, their enemy caught sight of them in his scope. After a gunshot broke the morning silence, Ryan lay still over his weapon. Chris rolled Ryan on his side and saw that a bullet had torn open half his face. If the enemy had cleanly hit his target, Ryan would have been killed instantly. But the shot struck his machine gun first, punched through his gun sight, and pierced his sunglasses before ripping through his right eye. Ryan lay unconscious as his fellow SEAL's goal shifted to a rescue mission. According to trauma.org, head wounds are rated on the Glasgow Coma scale, in which a score is generated between 3 and 15. As Ryan lay motionless on the roof, he was the worst possible, a 3. Amazingly, Ryan Job, gravely wounded, with half his face missing, sat up, coughed, and said, "I'm okay." His brothers were risking their lives to save him, and the sooner they were out of there, the sooner they'd be out of danger. At this point, Ryan could still see out of his left eye, and so, after losing half his face and a quarter of his blood, Ryan evacuated himself while his fellow SEALs laid down cover fire. He pushed through his intense pain, thinking more about his comrades' safety than his own. After arriving at the trauma center, one of the surgeons recalled in a warrior's faith that he was tough. He basically wanted us to sew him up so he could get back to his platoon. Ryan was transferred to a hospital in the U.S. where he awoke from a medically induced coma to shocking news. He was permanently blind and had lost his sense of smell. As he had walked off the rooftop, he could still see out of his left eye, but swelling in his head had cut the flow of blood to the optic nerve. Once damaged, that nerve will never regenerate. While there, he also learned that his good friend and fellow SEAL Mark Lee had been killed the same day he was wounded. Through all this, Ryan kept his faith in God, similar to Job from the Bible, who had every earthly thing taken from him, but still kept his faith. Job said in the first part of Job 13:15, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." During recovery, Ryan met many other wounded veterans. Like Ryan, we all have a choice: feel sorry for ourselves or make humor through the situation and press on. Ryan chose the latter. With 2 other SEALs who had received head wounds, he formed an elite club known as SSITH, which stood for SEALs Shot in the Head. Their motto was similar to, "This sticks." Unknowingly, Ryan went from fighting a war in Iraq to fighting a different war. As Christians, we are called to act different from the world, to shine as a light for Jesus. The outside world expected Ryan to be bitter over the loss of his sight, to lash out and blame others for his injury. The world labeled him as disabled, but Ryan refused to let that label become a part of him. He placed his life in God's hands. In 2008, Ryan met his personal trainer, Robert Vera. They quickly became good friends. Robert said that pain is often the trigger for change. Persistence is the engine, and faith is the fuel. Without faith, the entire process grinds to a halt. Ryan changed, and the evidence of his change was all over his life. An example of this is that although Ryan hated running, they lugged a treadmill into his apartment so he could run daily. In July of 2008, he traveled to Washington to climb Mount Rainier, the tallest peak in the state at over 14,000 feet. According to Seattle Times, a month before Ryan climbed, Edward Bursig died of exposure while attempting the same feat. Less than 2 years after Ryan Jobe lost his sight, he stood on the peak of the mountain. Ryan told TRX Training, "I was very tired at many points, but I was excited the whole time. I liked the cold air on my face. I liked the sound of things when there's snow on the ground. It sounds different. I can hear when a cliff or rock wall is next to me. On the summit, there's nothing above your head and nothing on your sides, just open space." Ryan and Robert had a grueling morning workout. They loved to compete and did their best to turn each other inside out to see who would get sick first. Ryan enjoyed pushing the pace, and in this, as in everything else, he looked at his blindness as an inconvenience rather than a disability. Authors Aparna Labru and Jesper Nielsen wrote, "Our natural inclination is to avoid or try to avoid anything immediately aversive, though it may be beneficial for us in the long term. James 1 tells us to consider it all joy when you fall into various trials." Ryan overcame the pull to avoid pain and worked through it. He felt joy through his trials with the knowledge that better days are ahead. Robert wrote in his book that Ryan had quickly become used to a life without sight. He ruthlessly took the challenge without complaining. Being blind is an exercise in humility. Ryan was once a proud Navy SEAL, a warrior, and now someone to take him to the bathroom. He accepted this with grace. There was never a hint of regret or self-pity. He made up his mind that he would be the best blind person in the world, that pursued that goal relentlessly in everything he did. Similar to Job from the Bible, Ryan went through his trials steadfastly and humbly, trusting God the entire way. It was with faith that he climbed Mount Rainier, and with faith that he went through every day of his life. I find his faithfulness truly inspiring because Ryan's top priority was his Savior. He, like Job, knew that his priorities would be tested again and again. But because he kept God at the top of that list, God gave him the will to face any trial. After a routine surgery for Ryan, in the end of September 2009, his loved ones received shocking news. Ryan had passed away at the age of 29. The cause of his death was from an overdose of painkillers administered by the hospital staff. A mistake that could have been prevented took the life that inspired so many. To restate Robert's record in a warrior's faith, nearly 200 Navy SEALs attended Ryan's funeral. All of them wore their trident pins. This valid golden pin is issued to each SEAL upon graduation. At the end of Ryan's funeral, each SEAL removed his trident and nailed it into the wooden casket. By the time every SEAL had paid his last respects, the casket was covered in gold. It was a reminder of Job 23:10. "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold." Ryan came forth as gold after being struck down by a bullet and losing his sight. But although he lost the ability to see, he never lost sight of his Savior. Now that I have told you about the life and death of Ryan Jobe, I hope that you are inspired. When I first read after I read Ryan's biography, A Warrior's Faith by Robert Vera, I was greatly inspired to endure and have faith through the pain of this life in such a way as to glorify God. How will you use the microphone of pain to impact those around you? I would like to end with a quote from Robert Vera. He said, "I believe that the lesson of Job is that pain, suffering, and faith all combine to become the necessary crucible that transforms a life from an ordinary one into an extraordinary one. Faith gives us the assurance that pain has a purpose in our lives. What was unique about Job was not his suffering, but his response to it." Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.